So this is, yeah, it's a screencast. It's recording my screen. Yeah, if you ever need to make a video of yourself talking and have your screen recorded, you can make a screencast. So remember, the purpose of putting an image in your paper is using a different type of evidence that is also going to force your analysis to work in a little bit different way. And so, like I said, I would recommend political cartoons as a starting point. You also remember, if you're having trouble finding an image, think about making that topic narrower. So I'm thinking specifically about the branding group. I know you've had some issues with finding resources in general. So think about, if you can't find the exact right image about branding, think about, is there an image about parenting that would fit in your parenting paragraph that then you could connect back to branding? So remember, it doesn't have to connect necessarily to your major topic. It helps you go deeper in analysis with a subtopic that you're working with. So just be creative about how you can pull in that image for analysis. So what I did was I searched for political education. I made up that I was writing about education spending, okay? And I found this one. I liked it, this idea of paying now versus paying later. So when I was in that Google image, you need to make sure that you can go directly to the source. So if you're doing a Google search, you want to click on visit page, not just copy image, because you need to, in order to cite it, you need to find the original source for the image. So then actually this site had a bunch of different political cartoons as well as the original. But I'm going to use this one. And so now I have the information I will need to cite it. When you're putting in your image, you might just not know how to just insert it in your paper. And that's what I wanted to show you today, is that just the nuts and bolts of getting it into your paper. So I'm going to right click on that image and save the image as a file, which I've already done. So I'm not going to do that again. But now when I'm back in my paper, you're going to set up your evidence for your image in exactly the same way that you would for a quote. And so my topic sentence here: many proponents of increasing the budget for K-12 public education see it as an investment in the future. That's my topic sentence. Now I'm getting into evidence, because you need to set up your image just as you would anything else. So Kate Sally Palmer, cartoonist and illustrator, tackles the threats to democracy in her cartoon. So I want you to see that I have figured out who she is. How did I figure out who she is? I Googled her. So I zoomed in on her name so I could see what it actually was. Kate Sally Palmer, I found out, oh, it looks like she's actually an author and illustrator. She's a nationally, thank you, syndicated cartoonist. So her background is in cartooning and illustration of books. So I just included that in my background as I'm setting up artist. If you don't have an artist for your image, if you can't find that information, you might just use the publication where it was originally published. Okay, so I'm setting up my, I'm almost using it like a compound sentence. Tackles the threat to democracy in her cartoon, figure 1. The way that you're going to put your image in is by calling it a figure, and then it's easy for your reader to find that figure in your paper if you do the following. Okay, so you're saving that image. I'm going to insert a drawing. If you insert a drawing, it allows you to pull the image in, and it allows you to put figure 1 under it so that your reader can easily find it. So what you do is you just click on this image. I downloaded it. If you can figure out how to do the URL or through Google Drive or something, you can. I just think it's easier to download it. So I saved it to my desktop, so it'd be easy to find. Here it is. I'm going to open that image. And then it comes in as a nice little graphic here, and it's easy for me to work with. I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller because I'm worried about the screencast cutting it off. And then once you have this image in, you can put in a text box. You're just going to put that little text box over here under the right-hand side. And you're going to put figure 1. If you have, we talked yesterday about using more than one image. If you have figure 1, figure 2, then you would just use different numbers for your different images. Now, in order for this to look really nice, you want to match your font. It's going to go to Arial automatically. I think my paper's in top font. So I'm just changing the font. Don't make it 12 point because the size doesn't really matter. And when you shrink your image down, it will shrink that font way down. So 14 or 18 is totally fine for that figure 1. Okay, so then I have that, and I'm going to save and close it, and it comes into my paper just like this. And then you can resize it all at once. So I'm going to make it, I mean, you want to be able to read it, but you don't want to take over your paper. I accidentally just made it bigger. So I'm going to keep making it smaller and think, okay, this is probably fine. Now, in order for it to look really nice, you want to wrap your text. So it will come in line, click wrap text, and then you can see it just goes into your paper really nicely and your text wraps around it. Okay. I went ahead then and started my analysis, just so you could kind of see what it's going to look like. When you analyze the image, you want to point out specific choices the illustrator made that connect back to your point. So if my point is about public ed being an investment in the future, I'm just going to go back in and start describing, I'm zooming in on the specifics there. Palmer features children with the language pay now, acknowledging the financial language evoked by much of her opposition. She avoids the words invest or other more positive terms because opponents of larger education budgets frequently cite the cost of such moves. Now this analysis isn't over, but I just wanted to show you when you're analyzing, now I would probably go back in and I would describe, okay, what have these children grown into and why did she use those specific word choices to make the point of investing in the future. So I'll tie it back to my topics in that way. Okay, that's just a quick overview of, first of all, the nuts and bolts of putting your image in, and second, how to kind of begin your analysis. You might kind of feel like this is a little bit of an add-on, like, okay, I've done all this research and now I have to put this image in. But what you really want to think about it as is an opportunity to get at your topic in a little bit different angle that you haven't used yet. And so choose a place to include your image that's really going to enhance your analysis of your issue. Okay, what questions do you have right now? Particularly that we should include in the video. Oh, works cited. You have to include your works cited on your, you have to include your image on your works cited, and it counts as one of your 8 sources. So if one of your sources is turning out to be a dud, this is one of those pieces that can replace it. You might not know how to cite an image. I would just go to EasyBib. Oops. Let's see if Google Chrome gets memory back. And EasyBib has actually a citation of how to cite a digital image let me move this over, in MLA8. So if you're on the home page, using MLA8 and choosing an image will be an option. You're just going to put in all the information you can. The big thing to include in the digital image is making sure that the URL is correct and the original organization is correct. So look for those details in the image. My image is kind of weird because it's on this Horace Mann website, which is a site it's about education, but it was originally published in a newspaper. The other interesting thing about this image is it was published in '84. This is a really old political cartoon, and I might want to get into that in my analysis as well. So if I look at this EasyBib, you'll notice it just has website title and publisher sponsor. It doesn't really give me an opportunity to state the original source of that image. That's okay, because anybody who has this Horace Mann website is going to be able to find the image easily, and that's the whole point of your works cited. Okay? Questions? Emily?
So, do you want this included in a paragraph that still has 2 quotes, or do you want it to be in one as its own kind of quote?
Okay, good question. I'm going to restate your question for the microphone. So Emily asked if it should be, basically if it should count as one of the quotes or if it should be in its own place. Think about your image as it's just another piece of evidence. So if you're going to put it in a quote that already or in a paragraph that already has one quote, and it would be like your second quote. You don't need to put it in any special place. It's just a piece of evidence.
Can we have a paragraph that already has 2 quotes, or would that be too many?
Okay, good question. So you don't want to go over 3 quotes in a paragraph, probably. So if it's your third example, that would be okay.
Okay.
Yep. Other questions? Okay, I'm gonna stop this.